What's up everybody, Steven C. Killer here. It's time for a new reaction video. But before that, 75% of you guys watching are not subscribed. Now recently, I was able to obtain the silver play button because we hit 100,000 subscribers. Now I'm pushing myself forward even further. We're going for 300,000 subscribers. We can't hit this goal if you're not part of this community, so hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Join the Discord so you don't miss out on any of my videos when I go live on Twitch, live on YouTube, or I upload a video. Links in the description. Don't forget, I do want to upgrade from silver to gold at one point. So help me out today and hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get into the video. What's up everybody, Steven C. Killer here for another reaction. Now today we're checking a video called The Big Twist of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Now I'm intrigued in this because not only I'm wondering what the big twist is all about, because I've seen a lot of let me just move my camera just a smidge. I just realized it's over off by a little bit. But a lot of people have been asking me to check this one out in the comments section. Because it just dropped recently, and it's brought some attention to some theories that I may not know of, that hasn't even been talked about even over on Game Theory. Because I've been watching a ton of Game Theory doing a ton of Game Theory reactions on the FNAF stuff, but there's still things I do not know, I don't understand, or I've never thought of when it comes to this stuff. So I'm always intrigued in checking out more of this, and the FNAF community has some good things when it comes to the theories and the possibilities for the future of this franchise. And me being realistic, where the fuck is that goddamn DLC? It needs to fucking come out already. Goddamn, give us a release date. But yeah, other than that, when it comes to the security breach, I still have some issues with the game after playing it and everything and thinking about it. There's so many things they should have done better in the game, and it needed more probably time to be developed and improved upon. But people are still finding things out about the game today, which I'm looking forward to. I have feel a sneeze. Sorry about that. I felt it. But I lost track of thought. Goddamn my sneeze and short attention span. Anyways, let's just get into this. No more delay. When we turn off the background music, we're going to get into this video. I have not seen this guy's channel before. This is my first time checking out any of his stuff. And I've done videos where I reacted to other people's theories and stuff that involves FNAF. And if you have more for me to know or watch, comment down below, or join the Discord and post in the reaction ideas section. But either way, like and subscribe to the channel that we're watching today. Show your support, and let's find out what the big twist is in Security Breach. So, blah, and
recently,
boom.
The entire FNAF community has lost their minds over something called the Mimic. This new character has apparently solved a bunch of mysteries surrounding Security Breach. And
well, it's kind of
the Mimic.
It's kind of in the shape of a Bonnie endoskeleton.
This new character has apparently solved,
or I guess, a spring trap,
a bunch of mysteries surrounding Security Breach. And in this video, I'm gonna explain what the Mimic is and my theory for how I think it fits into the game's story. The Mimic is actually something we've heard before in this franchise. The first instance of the word Mimic being used in a FNAF game was actually in FNAF World with the Mimic Ball. If you use this ability while fighting enemies, it would mimic.
Another game I've never played FNAF related, and honestly, this is one of the games that I don't think I'll ever really play because it just doesn't interest me.
Any attack you made, therefore sending that same attack a second time. But as far as the Mimic we know today, there's actually two versions of it. The program version of it was actually introduced last month in the last Tales book in a story called The Storyteller, but more on that later. The physical Mimic was actually introduced in the most recent Tales book in a story called The Mimic. This book actually doesn't release until May 2nd, but some bookstores are just putting them on the shelf.
Well, right now that would be officially released, so he's got to have he's probably gonna have. Okay, I will have to check it out whenever it comes out with it. But now that the book is out, if it's out on the May 2nd, then that means two things. One, more theories coming our way from Matt Pack and other people, probably, especially this guy, since he has something that might go into more detailed now that the book has been released, so we'll definitely have to check that out in the future.
Early, and that's how I got it. The Mimic centers around Edwin and
he
his
already
son
has the
David,
book, okay.
who is known for carrying around a white tiger plushie. After Edwin's wife Fiona passed away while giving birth to David, he was now a single father with little money. Edwin worked for Fazbear Entertainment as an engineer, building and fixing robots such as Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy for the company. The story states that one of the first animatronics he created was a robotic vacuum cleaner. He then sold enough of the vacuums to start his own company, but his company ended up failing and being bought out by Fazbear Entertainment for unknown reasons. The Fazbear executive stated that Edwin was, quote, doing the right thing. Now, as a single dad who's low on money, he lived in an abandoned factory. He turned a portion of the factory into a makeshift apartment for him and his son to live in. One day, David kept asking his dad if they could go get ice cream, and Edwin had to say no because he was so behind on his work. He realized he needed someone or something to watch over his son and keep him entertained so he could devote more time to his work.
He's gonna build the Mimic to basically be with his son? Ooh, and he's gonna basically get replaced probably too.
Then built the Mimic, an endoskeleton running a software Edwin created called Mimic 1. The endoskeleton was programmed to mimic anything it saw. David loved the endoskeleton, and Edwin was finally able to get a ton of work done.
Unless the Mimic is going to replace the child!
Mimic even eventually...
I actually kind of see that because that's usually what happens in these books. It's more often the kids get fucked over.
Eventually had its own makeshift tiger plushie that it carried around, just like David's. Everything was great until one day when Edwin was busy working, David chased after his red ball that was rolling into the street and got hit by a car, killing him. Edwin, so overwhelmed with sadness and rage, was only left with the Mimic, who was still mimicking his deceased son. In a fit of rage, Edwin destroyed the endoskeleton, hitting it over and over again with a metal rod. The story then skips ahead in time to a few months later.
Damn.
Edwin is missing, and a group of Fazbear employees were sent to the abandoned factory where Edwin and his son lived for unknown reasons. The entrance to the building had double doors that locked behind you once you were inside. Now locked inside, the Fazbear employees were left to deal with the Mimic, who started brutally killing them one by one. The Mimic loved dressing up in disguises, using old costumes left behind by Edwin. The Mimic first used a jester costume, then switched its costume to other characters, eventually killing off every employee by ripping off their limbs. The Mimic was taught to mimic whatever it saw, so after that day where Edwin took all of his anger out on it, it now was going to do the same to anyone it came in contact with. So let me know if you've heard this before. So we've got a dad who built a robot for his kid. The kid dies with his death involving a car. Now the robot was then literally a robotic version of his kid. The dad then, after the death of his kid, pours his agony into the robot, beats it up, and now the robot is an evil version of his now deceased kid. This story is quite literally mimicking Henry's story. Edwin was revealed to be the creator of the main 4 animatronics, something Henry also reveals to be the case.
Small souls trapped in prisons of my making.
We literally see Edwin's robotic vacuum in Henry's pizzeria in FNAF 6. Henry rebuilt his daughter Charlie after her murder, which also involved a car. In the books, Henry pours his agony into the adult Charlie bot, who Afton then steals and turns into Baby/Elizabeth. Baby lured kids in with ice cream, which was David's favorite snack. So if Baby really is the in-game version of the Mimic, is there in-game evidence to back this up? Well, let's look back at the first game Baby was introduced in, FNAF World. JC Jack on Twitter pointed out that the Mendo character from FNAF World could easily be a mix of the words Mimic and Endo. A character named Mimic was already established in the game, so that's not too hard to believe. But the Mimic Ball and Mendo also share one very distinct feature, the antenna on top of both of their heads. This antenna can also be found on another character in this franchise, Baby. But not just Baby. The antenna also shows up on every animatronic we know that Henry created. As we know, the whole idea of Afton stealing the Charlie bot and turning it into Baby was in the Silver Eyes trilogy, which began releasing a whole 6 months before Baby was introduced.
Also, someone has been I need to find that link again. Someone sent me a link of the entirety of Silver Eyes been like animated or comic book like turned into like a comic book thing. It was like an hour-long video. I want to check that out eventually because people said that this one was really good and I need to check that out in the future.
In FNAF World Update 2. It was also Update 2 that Scott said he wanted to pull elements from for FNAF Into Madness. If you keep up with the channel, you already know that I think FNAF Into Madness is the games we are currently playing, with the BB World game and Security Breach literally being called Scott Into Madness in the game files. The name Into Madness came from Foxy.exe, where Foxy says,
"Be sure you understand. through the heart of madness.
This was Scott introducing the idea of a character
Damn.
entering the real world by driving the player of a minigame into madness, which is what we see happen to Vanessa in FNAF VR, and now I believe happened to Gregory when he played the BB World game. The character you unlock when you beat Foxy.exe in Update 2 is Nightmare Rion, the evil/dark version of Charlie, which is quite literally what Baby is in the books. Not to mention in Security Breach, there's a secret room in the Endo Daycare that features an endoskeleton that only activates once you grab the Nightmare Rion plush sitting in front of it. I believe Baby, aka the evil version of Charlie that Henry built and then Afton stole, is the big bad and will be revealed to be the big bad in the DLC. I know that sounds insane, but stay with me. Now, I know all of you hardcore Mimic enjoyers are pressing X to doubt everything I've said in this video so far because of—
Hey, I'm just here to listen, and if I agree with you, I'll say something at the end. But so far, I have no reason to disagree with you.
one very important thing I left out, the epilogues. So let's talk about them. If you don't know, at the end of every Tales from the Pizzaplex book, there's an epilogue, and all of these epilogues from every book are one coherent story. The epilogues in the Tales books also feature the Mimic. The story begins with some workers who were hired to clean up the old pizzeria we see under the Pizzaplex. While they were cleaning though, they received a delivery of quote, state-of-the-art animatronics that were for the Pizzaplex. These were presumably the Glamrock animatronics. One of the workers quickly noticed that one of the animatronics was destroyed, saying quote, well, they're gonna need another guitarist, referring to what I think was Bonnie. The workers had a lot of work to do, but one of them had a plan. What if these new animatronics could do the work for us? So he plugged his laptop into Bonnie and ordered it to take off the arms and legs of all of the endoskeletons laying around and throw them into a pile. And surprisingly, Bonnie did what he was told. Once he was done with the endoskeletons though, he started ripping off the arms and legs of the workers, one by one, tearing
God, there's a theme going on here on workers getting their fucking arms ripped off.
them apart. One of the workers escaped and told the guys to seal up the entrance with cement, locking Bonnie and all of the dead workers inside. Later on in the epilogues, a group of friends decide to go explore the same pizzeria the Bonnie animatronic was left in. Eventually, they get trapped in there with him, and he starts killing them off one by one. In the newest epilogue, we learned that the Bonnie endo that was killing them was version 2 of the original Mimic endoskeleton, and that Fazbear Entertainment actually built a whole line of these Mimic endoskeletons. And that's basically all we know so far from the epilogues. Obviously, this Bonnie Mimic endoskeleton is a big metaphor for Burn Trap, and the big reveal is that Burn Trap isn't actually William Afton, but a Mimic endoskeleton that's trying to replicate William Afton. Now, do I believe that the Mimic we hear about in the epilogues is Burn Trap? Yes. But do I believe the story we hear in the epilogues is 100% how it happened? No. That wasn't the case for the epilogues in the Fazbear Frights books, and I don't think that's the case now. Here's what I think happened. So it seems that in order to cut corners on development,
You've
Fazbear
got my
Entertainment
attention.
stole Edwin's Mimic program and used it for their VR game. But when they scanned Mimic 1 into the game, the program quite literally got the spark notes of Afton's greatest hits, because that game quite literally spells out the story of Afton through the minigames. The program then created Glitch Trap, a new digital recreation of William Afton created by the Mimic 1 software. Glitch Trap was now willing to do anything to get out of the VR game and enter the real world. That's where Vanessa comes in. While playtesting the game, Vanessa fell under the control of Glitch Trap, now becoming his reluctant follower who he could control. After Vanessa gets infected, he orders her to make a bunny costume, just like him. She even starts mimicking his behavior, his wave, his shushing motion, his skipping. Glitch Trap then realizes he needs an endoskeleton of his own to occupy, so Vanessa gets to work on that. Vanessa then destroys Bonnie to use his endo for Glitch Trap. We see proof of this in-game. When we first meet Vanessa in the first aid area, she walks away into a gated-off room. This room is where you can find the duffel bag about Bonnie's last whereabouts and also Bonnie's leg. How do I know this is Bonnie's leg? Something that I didn't notice until recently is that these boxes are kind of stacked like they're steps. Like Steelwolf wants you to climb on top of them and examine the leg. So that's exactly what I did. And what I found is something that I've yet to see anyone else discover. As you can probably see, there is remnants of Bonnie's blue paint on the endoskeleton leg. And it's not just in one spot, it's all over this thing. And if Vanessa is using parts of Bonnie's endoskeleton to help rebuild Afton, and one of Bonnie's legs is on this table, the other one is attached to Burn Trap. And I think it's entirely possible that Vanessa used parts of Scrap Trap's endoskeleton and some of the new and old endos that Fazbear Entertainment made.
That would
which
make
explains
sense.
why the other leg doesn't have the same amount of toes as the Bonnie leg. Why would Glitchtrap want Bonnie? Because Glitchtrap wants to mimic William Afton. No other animatronic would make sense. After decommissioning Bonnie, Vanessa then put the Glitchtrap virus into the Bonnie endo. We see this in the FNAF AR emails when Vanessa isolates the virus into one place, aka into the Bonnie endo. Now, all that Vanessa needs to do is get the Bonnie / Glitchtrap / mimic endo to Afton's body. She does this by using Glamrock Freddy to clear the path down to where Afton's body lived. The Bonnie endo, now with Glitchtrap inside of it, then quite literally takes Afton's corpse and puts it on himself, which is why when we see Burntrap in-game, Afton's corpse is on a newer version of the Bonnie endoskeleton. We also learned that Bonnie had special pointy fingers so he could play the bass, which is what we see on Burntrap. So yes, Burntrap is not technically William Afton. He's the Mimic 1 software that turned into Glitchtrap that Vanessa then turned into a physical form. If you haven't noticed yet, I've quite literally contradicted myself. At the beginning of the video, I said that the Mimic was Baby, and now I'm saying it's Burntrap. But like I said earlier, we find out that Fazbear Entertainment...
Hey, at least he admits to contradiction, basically conflicting with his own statement at the beginning.
Built their own versions of the Mimic endoskeletons. This is what I believe Burntrap is made from. The OG Mimic in the story with Edwin and his son, I still believe is the Charlie bot / baby. The Mimic that Edwin built is never described to have bunny ears. And if you remember, David and the Mimic both had tiger plushies that they carried around with them. And as much as people like to say that it looks like Burntrap is holding a plushie in his arm, every other time we see Afton, his arms are at his side. And in this part of the cutscene, I'm just not convinced that's what he's doing. And if Burntrap was actually imitating holding a tiger plush, that would imply the existence of Edwin, his son, and the tiger plushie in the game's timeline, which I don't see being the case since Edwin is very obviously a parallel to Henry. And in the epilogues where the Burntrap Mimic is featured, it's never described to be holding a plushie or even looking like it's holding a plushie. One thing I forgot to mention about the Mimic is that when it was playing with Edwin's son David, they used to draw on multicolored sheets of paper, which is exactly what we see in the sticky note room in Security Breach. But to get to the sticky note room, you have to go through the sewers until you reach this weird structure. It seems that the Pizzaplex was built on top of not just the old pizzeria, but some other structure. Judging by the parking spaces, it looks to be an abandoned parking structure, but I think this could easily be the in-game parallel of the abandoned factory Edwin and his son lived in. Need more proof? The Mimic and Edwin's son also used to draw on multicolored sheets of paper, like in the sticky note room that is connected right to the structure. And above the sticky note room, we have a workstation with endo blueprints on the table, which mimics Edwin's workstation where he built the Mimic. The Mimic is also known for tearing off the arms and legs of anything it sees. And what do we see as we enter the sticky note room? Staffbot torsos missing all of their arms and legs. This all seemed like a slam dunk. But even with all of that, I was still having doubts until I realized this. One of the biggest things we know about Edwin's warehouse is that when the Fazbear employees entered it, the double doors locked behind them, trapping them inside. This is exactly what happens when you enter the sticky note room. The big double doors lock behind you, trapping you inside. Also, like I said, I believe the original Mimic was Henry's rebuilt version of Charlie. And in the...
Okay. MatPat needs to check this out, because I know for a fact MatPat checks out other theories and all that stuff. This is an interesting one, and I hope MatPat sees this at some point and even combines his own theory on top of this.
The source code, the doors we use to enter the sticky note room are titled Charlie Door. There are just way too many connections here for this to be a coincidence. And all of this is to say that I think my original theory for who lived in the sticky note room might actually be correct. I definitely think it's possible that a robotic version of Charlie occupied that room.
Do you guys think it's worth for me to check out that video? And if there's other videos from this guy's channel you guys want me to check out theory-wise, I'm willing to check it out already, because this guy got some good statements and theories on this that I'm looking forward to more.
Just to clarify, I don't think Edwin is an actual character in the game universe, and I don't think that's his actual warehouse. All I'm saying is that these connections are real, and I think we'll find out way more about what these connections mean in the DLC. My guess right now is that this connects to Henry and the Charlie bots. One thing I've been looking back at recently is the wall code in the sister location room in Security Breach, and what it could possibly mean. If this is Michael's room, let's just assume that Michael wrote the code. And since this room is featured in sister location, there has to be some connection to that game. And I believe that connection is the one time we hear Michael speak in this entire franchise, during his speech to his father. In the speech, he says that he put her, aka Elizabeth, back together.
And I found her. I put her back together.
And in the code on the wall, it says, break and mend, I built the breath. They hunt now, drawn to life. But if Michael is only talking about Elizabeth, why would he be using they instead of she? That's because maybe there isn't just one Elizabeth bot. In the novel trilogy, Henry created 4 versions of Charlie, with the final book literally being titled The Fourth Closet. Now let me point you towards the map we see in Sister Location during the Funtime Freddy section. On this map, we see the Afton house, Fredbear's, the bedroom from FNAF 4, and the plush trap minigame, with each gray dot representing an animatronic. This is something that Rye Toast actually pointed out to me a while back. We see Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, the Nightmare animatronics, and 4 separate dots with 1 in each closet. The 4 Elizabeth bots, 1 for each stage of her life. It's actually heavily hinted at that the Mimic wrote the symbols of the wall code on one of the sheets of paper he was drawing with Edwin's son, solidifying the connection between the Charlie/Elizabeth bot and the wall code. What Scott was trying to do with Sister Location is something that we never saw pay off in this franchise until now. I believe that this little girl is one of those 4 Charlie/Elizabeth bots that Michael put back together and might have occupied the sticky note room. But like I said earlier, I still believe Baby is going to be revealed as the big bad in the DLC, or at least one of the 4 versions of her. Why do I think this? Well, last month in the 5th Tales from the Pizzaplex book, we were introduced to the Storyteller. Long story short, Fazbear Entertainment built a big tree in the middle of the atrium in the Pizzaplex called the Storyteller. Inside the tree was an AI that had fiber optic cables that were connected to every part of the Pizzaplex and basically controlled everything. The AI ended up being the reason all of the robots started acting more aggressive, which is what we see in Security Breach. Edwin, who still worked for Fazbear, noticed that the Storyteller was making everything worse. Because of this, Edwin decided to sneak inside the tree to see what was behind all of this. And what he found was quite literally a giant white tiger head. The same white tiger that his son and the Mimic were known for carrying around with them. The white tiger was running the same program that he created 40 years ago, Mimic 1. Obviously, this giant white tiger head is a little goofy and out of place. And when I think of a giant animatronic head that's goofy and out of place, I think of the giant Freddy head next to the pizzeria under the Pizzaplex. The Storyteller tree also had a bunch of black fiber optic cables connecting to every part of the Pizzaplex. And what do we find after we see the giant Freddy head? The blob, which looks awfully similar to a bunch of black fiber optic cables in a giant clump. So do I think the Storyteller tree was actually a real thing in the Pizzaplex? No. But do I think it's a giant metaphor for the giant Freddy head and the blob? Maybe. If Baby really is the in-game version of the Mimic that Edwin built for his son, and the Mimic is represented by the giant white tiger head, then to me that screams that Baby is going to be behind the blob. That may sound insane, but we've seen this happen before in the Fazbear Frights series. Eleanor ended up being the big bad in those stories. And in FNAF World Update 2, the final boss looks like it's going to be the giant purple geist, but really gets revealed to be Chica's magic rainbow, something we see hanging in Charlie's bedroom in the Silver Eyes graphic novels. Now, there's one more major thing we need to talk about. I think we can prove in Security Breach that the endos we see in that game are the newer versions of Henry's Mimic endo. As we learned in the story The Mimic, Edwin, aka Henry, was forced to have Fazbear Entertainment buy out his robotics company. And in my last theory, I talked about how in the FNAF 2 phone calls it reveals that Henry was the previous owner and that he lost the company.
We're gonna try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that.
What this story reveals is that Henry might have signed away the company, but he was still making all of the robots, which would include the security puppet, which looks shockingly similar to the design of the Funtime animatronics, further backing up that the Funtime's designs were actually Henry's that Afton stole. If Henry really did build all of the animatronics we see in the games, that would include the toy animatronics. And one quirk of the toy animatronics is that they're sensitive to bright light.
Flash your light at him from time to time. Those older models would always be disoriented with bright light. It would cause a system restart or something. Come to think of it, you might want to try that on any room where something undesirable might be. It might hold them in place for a few seconds. That glitch might have carried over to the newer models too.
And so are the Glamrock animatronics.
That's fucking true!
And what do we see hidden behind the arcade machine in Glamrock Freddy's green room? His matching toy version in plushie form. I'm aware that this video was insane, but if any of this theory ends up being correct, I will poop myself. But at this point, I'm just ready for some answers, whether I'm right or wrong. If by any chance Steelwool Studios is watching this right now, please, release Ruin.
Yes, to be 100%. How long has it been? Literally, how long has it been since Security Breach? Let's see. Five Nights at Freddy's, Security Breach. Security breach. Release date. Because I know it came out in December 2021. It will be 2 years since the game's release this upcoming December. In literally 7 months. 7 months, the game will be 2 years old. That is way too long to wait for some DLC. They're fucking things up. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. Comment down below if there's any other videos you want me to check out from this guy's channel. And I'm just in general looking forward to more of this content. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the new format for my videos as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Subscribe, hit notification bell, join the Discord, and check out more videos while you're bored. Till then, later.